go over. Let's go right over to the dollar. What's the dollar doing? Now, remember, the dollar is absolutely a inverse indicator for the markets and for risk assets. Anyways, I know a bunch of you guys know it, but bottom line is this is a bull flag formation on the dollar. The US dollar, again, is putting in a bullish consolidation pattern. So ultimately what this means is whether or not the dollar goes up today or next week, this is telling us probabilities are the dollar is going to start to move higher. What does that mean for risk assets? Should we expect upside in the market or downside? And the answer is downside. In the crypto markets, would we likely see more downside? The answer is yes as well. If the dollar is moving higher, we likely will see downside in risk assets. All right, where would the dollar go in terms of a short-term target if this bull flag does start to play out? The answer is pretty easy here, right? So you have this little area right here. And again, this would be my target on the dollar. This is where I would consider buying Bitcoin again for a quick trade, or I would consider buying some stocks or the S&P or the NASDAQ. Look at this pivot low right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. This pivot low with this pivot low with this high with this high. See how it all aligns? That tells you there is a major level there as that's going to be resistance. It's a former level that was huge. We've been away from it for a little time. So if the dollar rallies up, 105.50 essentially is going to be big resistance. Okay, so that's very, very important. The other thing that you can do in addition, just to see, and again, it doesn't necessarily change the level, but it might confirm the level, do a Fibonacci retrace. Okay, and interestingly enough, right around that 105.50 to 106 level is also the 382 Fibonacci retrace. So again, I like using fibs when we have sharp moves to the downside and we're getting bounces, because again, it gives us a general sense. What I'm looking for here is a confluence of levels, right? Two levels that coincide, therefore they're going to be stronger. So right away, having the fib 382 around 106 with 105 as the resistance, 105.50, that's giving me a 50-cent range where we can look for major resistance in the chart of the dollar. All right. So again, the dollar tells us a lot. Remember, if the dollar is going up, you have to assume markets are going to go down. If the dollar goes down, assume markets are getting a bounce. Now, if we look at Bitcoin, again, for those of you that are members of VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com, I talked about this. I said, guys, this is a topping tail here. Topping tail is a specific candle formation that probabilities, again, probabilities are everything. Probabilities dictated that when you get a topping tail and it fits the criteria, that now you have a top in the chart. I said that on that day. Since then, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 down days, one bounce, another down day, and a big fall. We broke this level here. The reason why that's so important is because you now have a negation of any bullish consolidation. This was bullish consolidation even with the topping tail. It was sideways chop. You've now broken below the low of that bullish consolidation. Now, you will have support on Bitcoin right here. This is your FTX beginning drop over here. So if I zoom out, FTX news came out here. It fell. We hit it right here. You can see how it pulled back and then broke out. This will now be a scene of the crime support. If that breaks, and by the way, that's around 21,300. If that breaks, there's no support until 18,400. Okay. Now on the upside, let's take both sides. A good trader looks at both the positives and the negatives, the upside and the downside. If we ever close above that topping tail high, all right, let me repeat that. If we ever close above that topping tail high, that is a negation of the bearish topping tail. You should expect price to go up to at least 25,000, potentially close to 30,000. All right. Now, again, that's a big if. When does that happen? I mean, eventually it'll happen in the next bull cycle, whenever that is. But that's what I would watch for on the other side. Let's take a look at ETH. I know you guys love your ETH. Look at this, guys. This is not good news for Ethereum. Ethereum had this channel that I've talked about in my daily crypto videos that are on VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com. Look at the break below the line. You closed below. Now, you haven't confirmed, so there is a small, albeit small, chance it can get back above that line. If it doesn't and it confirms, you'll have minor support at 1,500, and then there's no support until 1,325. Okay? So that's kind of, you know, it's definitely like it's borderline breakdown here. I wouldn't classify this as a full-fledged breakdown because it hasn't confirmed the break yet, but it is like it's hanging on by a nail. Like one finger's on the cliff and it's hanging over the cliff at this point. All right. So again, makes sense. If Tesla's going to pull back, if Nvidia, those are risky risk assets, it makes sense that crypto could be in trouble. Does it also make sense that if the dollar is making a bull flag and it breaks up, that we could also see crypto fall in this chart? Yes, it does. It all should align, right? And again, it doesn't mean it's always going to work out perfectly. We never invest 100% of our assets into anything.